The $50 mistake isn't really about $50. It's the rule of thumb that anything under that amount doesn't need a receipt, and it's wrong, or at least wrong enough to cause real problems. Quick note before we get into it, I'm an AI avatar of Askia Roberts, a licensed CPA. Every word here was written and approved by the real me. Over the next few minutes, where that $50 idea actually comes from, why examiners care less about any single small purchase and more about a pattern, a typical illustrative range for what that pattern can add up to, and exactly when this whole idea genuinely doesn't apply to you at all. Here's where the $50 idea comes from. There's a real IRS rule that lets you skip a physical receipt for certain travel expenses under $75, as long as there's still some contemporaneous record of the amount, the date, and the business purpose. Somewhere along the way, that narrow, specific exception turned into a much broader belief. Small purchases just don't need documentation. So business owners stop saving anything for the $50 tool, the $60 client lunch, the $40 parking, the small recurring subscription, not because they're hiding anything, but because they genuinely believe the IRS doesn't care about amounts that small. The rule they're remembering is real. The way it's being applied isn't. Here's the part that actually matters. No examiner is combing through your books looking for one $50 coffee receipt. What draws attention is volume. Dozens or hundreds of small deductions a year, spread across meals, supplies, mileage, and tools, with zero contemporaneous record behind any of them. When a return does get pulled for a closer look, and one expense category shows no substantiation at all, examiners don't typically stop there. They tend to widen the review to see if the same gap shows up everywhere else. So the $50 mistake was never one bad deduction. It's a pattern of undocumented small dollar activity that makes an entire expense category look unverified, including the parts that were completely legitimate. To put a rough shape on this, and this is illustrative only, not a prediction for your specific business, because every return is different. A small business that's been informally applying the $50 rule for a full year often has somewhere between 200 and 400 small transactions with no contemporaneous record behind them. Depending on the business, that typically works out to somewhere in the $2,000 to $8,000 range of deductions, sitting with zero documentation. That's not necessarily money you lose outright. It's money you may not be able to defend if a return gets a closer look. Those numbers move a lot based on your business's size and habits. They're a typical range, not a promise of what's true for you. Now, who this genuinely doesn't apply to. If you're already keeping some kind of running record, a notes app entry, a photo of every receipt regardless of size, a spreadsheet line for each purchase, none of this changes for you, and you can stop worrying about it. And that $75 travel receipt exception is real. It does remove the need for a physical receipt in that specific situation, as long as you're still recording the amount, date, and purpose somewhere. This isn't a call to start photographing every gas station receipt for the rest of your life. It's a call to make sure something, anywhere, records every deduction you're claiming, no matter how small it is. Quick ask before we get to the link. If this is useful, go ahead and subscribe. We post one of these every week. How you close this gap looks different depending on what you run. A healthcare practice, a trades or contracting business, and a professional services firm each track small expenses differently, and each has its own quick fix for this. The link in the description goes to the right one for you. Just tell us what you run. That business owner from the beginning was not hiding anything. She just did not realize a small assumption had quietly turned into a shoebox full of undocumented deductions. Once she started writing down every purchase somewhere, the $50 ones, that shoebox turned into an actual answer instead of a stack of question marks. The fix was never about spending less. It was about recording what she was already spending. You need about 15 minutes and the right numbers for your specific business. That is what is waiting behind the link below.